everyone, welcome to the Spring Show. Welcome to the Spring Show. We have raw talks with real women. Raw talk, real women. Hello everyone, welcome to the Spring Show. And today we're going to have our special guest for our first episode. We have raw talks with real women. And we have a real woman today with us. So please welcome Casey Nicole Fox. There she is.
Hi.
So just for you to know who I'm speaking about, because she's such a special person in my personal life, I'm going to read you some great things about her. Casey Nicole Fox is an author, speaker, certified life coach, and clinical hypnotist. I've been hypnotized by her. Investor and Ironman finisher, such a great inspiration. Casey is the CEO and editor-in-chief of Life by Design Entrepreneur Lifestyle Magazine, San Diego's only print entrepreneurship magazine. Casey is a mentor. She is my mentor, actually, and a leader who emphasized the need to give back as an entrepreneur. Casey has written 3 books and featured in 2 additional books. Her journey through physical, sexual, and mental abuse, being put in a mental institution, in the foster care system, and surviving an addiction to self-mutilation, all as a child and young adult, has fueled her passion for changing the world and helping as many people as possible. So wow, what a guest we have today to start with this Queen Show. Welcome, Casey, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm very honored to be here, and I'm excited for what this show has to hold.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to talk about so good and interesting things today and really deep conversations. We're going to talk about probably the things that not many people talk. So let me ask you, because I remember the first time I heard your story, and I could see this young, sweet, soft lady. And when I heard that story, I was like, what? So young, and she's been through so much. And we talk about this so many times, but still I keep being, you inspire me, because it's not just your story, what you've been through, but what happened after that, and your healing process, and everything you're going to share today, so you can empower and encourage women like you to realize that, they can change the world too, as you are changing it right now. So when I read this about you, and because telling the story of our lives is one thing, but then realizing that this is my story is a hard pill to swallow, right? So
that's very true.
Yeah. So tell me, now that you hear this, and what were the beliefs that led you to, living all this, and the beliefs that stay with you after all this abuse and all this pain happened in your life?
Yeah, so growing up, I had a lot of self-limiting beliefs. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe that I would ever accomplish anything. I didn't believe that anyone would ever love me. I never believed that I was enough. Enough was the big overarching term. As you stated in my bio, I was in a mental institution and foster care and multiple different family situations. So I always kind of felt like I was pushed on to the next one, on to the next one, on to the next one, like no one wanted me. So abandonment issues, and I joke that I've got as much baggage as an airport. But it's definitely been quite the experience, not only finding out who I am along the process, but figuring out how I can be the best version of myself each and every single day. And that took a lot of personal development. And kind of like it keeps you from achieving your full potential until you're really able to forgive and let those go. But, I think that one of the issues with the world that we live in today is too many people don't acknowledge that they've got something like that underneath their skin, and they just continue to live with it instead of finding ways to heal,
Absolutely. I agree with you. I always said that 98% of people in the world is being damaged somehow. Their heart is being broken. And I say 98 because I can't say 100%, right? But I would think that is 100%. But, and many people go through life surviving and not living. And I've been there. So yeah, I felt like I was surviving for so many years. But the moment that I realized that I had the power to change and to shift my life, that was a huge responsibility and a huge relief, because now I don't have to buy everybody's beliefs and everybody's expectations, because I'm not here to fulfill them. So, and I know you've been through such a process of healing to get where you are right now, such as a successful entrepreneur. And not just about the business, it's about the person you became, because like I said before, you inspire me. You take so many challenges and you go for them. And at the same time, you are so sweet and so soft inside. It's like every time I talk to you, even when I am upset, you always have this word of, okay, just calm down. And you don't say calm down. You say it in a very, very more beautiful way. Like, this is another choice. And this is what we're going to talk about today. Also, it's about the choices that we have as women in the world that we live. And I want to show the audience your book. Here is the last book, and I have this because I'm going to talk about this. This is the book I Quit. It's a beautiful book, beautiful. I haven't finished reading it because every time I start, it takes me a while to read, even though it's a short book. This is pure gold. So I love this book, it's so clear. How old are you?
I think I'm 26.
Oh my God, 26 now. You gotta be 87, 88. Because you got so much knowledge and let me ask you, what are the consequences that you suffer for all those beliefs or not feeling until the moment that you had that revelation and you decided to take over your life? What was the consequences that you had to live through?
So for me, the biggest turning point was waking up and realizing, one, that I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. But two, there were some people in my life that had very similar baggage as me, per se. And they had never begun the journey of working on themselves. And I just saw how miserable they were with their lives. They had never really accomplished anything. They had never really been in a relationship that was truly what they wanted out of life. And I just realized that, I don't want that to be me. And I have to make the choice today if I'm going to be a person who lives my life to the absolute fullest, or lives my life based off of situations that have happened to me in the past, instead of taking control of my life and taking responsibility for each day that I'm actually able to take control of.
Wow, that's powerful. So for everybody that's listening to this, see how important it's for you to see what's going to be your future if you stay where you are, right? And think, and ask yourself, is this what I want for my future? Probably not, because we all have inside this drive for being, happier, better, and having better relationships. And talking about relationships, what kind of relationship were you having during those turmoil times?
Yeah, so because I grew up dealing with a lot of shame and all that kind of stuff, the kinds of actual romantic relationships that I got in were treacherous, to say the least. I got into any kind of abusive relationship that I could find, physically abusive, emotionally abusive. And so I just repeated the patterns of my childhood, because that's what I had normalized as a proper relationship, was fighting and abuse. And so the relationships that I got in as an adult were just like that. They kept me in the exact same rut that I was used to. And I was kind of like a, what is the term? Uh, Constantly getting into relationships, whatever the term for that is.
Yeah.
Constantly in a relationship. I had never been like, oh, on my own. If I wasn't dating somebody, then I was talking to somebody, and it just ended up being all consuming. I cared more about what my significant other wanted me to become or be than who I genuinely thought that I wanted to be and become.
Yeah, and I want to read one of your phrases. It really hit me because I heard that so many times from my clients. I mean, this is repeated constantly. So when I read that on your book, it really hurt my heart. It was like, oh my God, we've been there so many times, all of us. The longer we were together, the less. Not even yourself by being, you were just what everybody else wanted you to be. Because like you said before, you were not enough to be yourself. And what a change when you realize that you were more than enough, and then you get to where you are. And you have here a draw in your book that I wanted you to explain. This is the draw, and I want to show it to you because this is so clear to me of what a relationship needs to be. Not just romantic relationships, all relationships, right? Everyone, because this is a pattern that we have. So you wanna tell the audience what is this about, because this is such a good example.
Yeah, so this is just a concept that I came up with when actually explaining my belief on relationships to someone, and it just kind of stuck. So basically, imagine that we're all floating through this river of life, and all the couples, no matter what kind of couple, but there's rows of couples floating through the water, and the first couple is neither one of them have a life raft. They're holding onto each other to keep from drowning in the river. And obviously they're not going to last very long because they're just holding onto each other and, not trying to be morbid, they're little cartoon characters. But eventually, like, neither one of you are going to make it to, the pot of gold at the end of the river.
Right.
So
especially when it gets too deep, when it gets too deep, there's no way out. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Exactly. And the river is life, and your life raft is all of the things that it takes to make you a whole and complete person. And though I don't believe anyone is ever like whole, I think we're always working to be our best versions. Yeah. But a life raft is your ability to want to be a better person. It's that you're working on your confidence, that you're working on your attachments to others, your love. You're working on being your best version of yourself, versus latching on to the person next to you and expecting them to be the thing that gives you life. If your love tank has a hole and you use someone else to fill it up, then you're the person who doesn't have a life raft, right? And the person with the life raft is able to have self-love. And so if you're floating down the river and you're in more of an enabling kind of relationship where one of you doesn't have a life raft and the other one does, you'll last longer than the first floating couple where neither has a life raft. But ultimately, you're not going to make it to the pot of gold at the end of the river because both of you cannot survive on one life raft.
Exactly.
But the third group of people is the ones who they both have the life rafts. And so ultimately they will be able to float all the way down the river happily until they get to the life raft and the pot of gold.
I love it. And you say, I'm sorry. That's quoting you. You have to rescue yourself from your issues before the man or the woman comes into the picture. I love it. That is exactly how it is. It's if you don't save yourself, nobody else will. And
True.
and because nobody actually knows what is it that you need. You are the only one that has your wisdom inside. You might hire a coach, a therapist, and of course I will suggest you do that. One thing that I see is that people says, I will solve it myself, I will look for it, I will read books, I will watch movies. And you know what, it's very hard to see what's in the shadows. That's why they're in the shadows, because you don't see them. So that's why I also believe that everybody, every person that's walking on earth, young, old, middle age, needs to have some kind of somebody that can help them see what they can see at the moment. So,
and to add on to that, I think that too often the people who want to be rescued don't realize that if all you ever are is rescued, you'll never be able to live on your own. There's a quote, if they can give life, they can take it. And too often, people who are stuck in that victim mentality of situations from their lives will just choose to not ever have a life raft because somebody else will take care of them. And unfortunately, you can't live your life like that. So it's important for everybody, every single person who has baggage, which is every single person on this planet, pick up your own baggage and deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, when somebody is saving you, you don't even. It's like the person who is saving you will want you to be the way that he wants or she wants you to be, because that's what they are saving. It's not like the real you. And this is the easiest and fastest way to unhappiness. Being what everybody else wants you to be, and not realizing that eventually your heart and soul are gonna either push you to be who you are, or die. I'm not saying you will die, but your heart will die, because we are born to love and be loved. That's it. All the rest is just coming together for that. Even cars and apartments and money, it's all about love. And basically everything that we've been here, even in TV and media, and even you talk about how Disney lied to us. This idea of the princess and the princess coming to save us. We don't need a savior, we just don't. It's so much easier and simpler to be yourself and then find happiness, just being who you truly are. And it's the only way. Don't try to do anything else. You that you're listening to me right now, trust me, there's no other way than being yourself. So we've been talking.
On the point about Disney lies, just so that so that there's a little more clarity on that. We live in a society where women are rescued, right?
Yes.
The most, literally all Twilight, like all of the famous Titanic, we've created this idea that women are these fragile creatures that need to be saved and rescued. And the problem is that some maybe they do, and I'm not trying to make women unfeminine or anything, but ultimately if you live your life waiting for somebody to rescue you, you're not living your potential. Just go live your life. It's way more attractive to find somebody who's owning who they are versus wait as an empty pallet waiting for somebody to fill them up.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's real. Anything that's not real, it's not gonna last. Or it will last just because you put up with all the things that are coming along with that relationship, which I had a case of one of my clients, and I remember the first time we had this conversation. I'm going to call her Amy. I call Amy to all my clients, so because this is confidential. And I remember she saying, I married the first one who asked, because I thought that nobody else was going to ask. And she stayed in that marriage for 15 years, being unhappy. And also the unhappiness brought a lot of things, like this bad relationship, this bad communication, the abuse, and and this feeling miserable. So, healing was the first step in realizing that when your heart is broken and you choose from that broken heart, you're going to choose from scarcity
Right.
So whoever comes in your life is going to come to feel some kind of hole you have. And
Hmm.
nobody can feel your sadness. Nobody else can feel the things that your broken heart. It's only you, it's only you, because that's when you become this amazing whole person that you are, and like you say, it's always a working process, because we
Yeah.
always have something else to review, which is great. If
Yes.
not, it would be kind of boring. So
Right.
we talk about, we talk many times, and I think that was the first time that we kind of connect in a deeper way when we talk about the abuse. I know you're being abused in your life, and abused by the system, abused by others, mental, sexual abuse, and we talk so many times about your mission, your goal. Tell me about it, because I know it's such a powerful one.
Yeah. So I want to end sex trafficking. And I know that that sounds outrageous and like, how could you ever like end it? And there's so many people who want to end it. But ultimately, looking at what is the root of the problem, right? So if we live in a world where all of these kids are getting trafficked, and these adults and boys and human beings all over the planet are getting sold into sexual slavery and just in slavery in general. And and the reason being is because there's the people who are buying, there's a void in their lives. And I'm not trying to justify anyone's behavior. I
Yeah.
want to make sure that that is clear. But ultimately, we can save all the women and children that are currently in the sex traffic, are in these homes, but they're just going to go get more to fill it up because the supply and demand is still there. The demand is still there, so they have to go get more supply. We need to fix the demand problem. We need to fix the people who are buying. And how do we do that? Get them before they ever start buying. We need to start talking about our pain. I can't, uh, I don't believe that you're born an evil person. I think that something happens in your life that has created a way that your brain thinks. And that may not be a popular way of thinking. I may get slack for it later, but ultimately we have the potential to change the way that we will live our lives and the way that the rest of the world will live our lives if we are able to be open and vulnerable about the fact that we've even been hurt. You and I have shared the statistics in the past where I believe it's 3 out of 5 women have been assaulted in some kind of way.
Crazy.
And that's of the women who have actually reported. I would say that the statistics are, and that's only the people who have actually reported it, right? And it's like 1 in 5 men, but that's only the ones who reported it too.
Yeah.
But I guarantee it happens just as prevalently in with men, but it's way worse if they say anything than if women say anything, because we live
Right.
in a culture where we immediately scrutinize the sexual victim, the victim of like, oh, they're just trying to get attention. Oh, they're just trying to diminish the person's brand. Oh, they're just trying to get like more views or whatever, right? And it's always like a immediately trying to make it like a non-credible source,
Yes,
instead of,
absolutely.
and yes, I don't, I think that some people may ultimately come out and say things that they aren't actually true, but that's in everything. You could try to frame a person for murder. We live in a world where it's hard to trust people's point of views, but that doesn't mean that every single person who says something's happened to me is lying. It's
Absolutely.
like we had the Me Too movement, which was amazing. So many people came out and said, "Hey, I've been hurt." But the problem was is that everybody opened up. Now that the Band-Aid's off, hey, I've been hurt. There was no way to like heal from that. It was kind of like just opening the wound and being like, oh well, do we get antibiotics? Um,
Yeah.
so
Crazy
I
but true.
I
Yes.
and I want to change the I want to help change the world today of all the people today who have never hurt anybody and never thought about hurting somebody, but we don't know what kind of things are brewing inside of us that maybe if we don't get help today could turn into something down the road. But that takes looking at the shadows, looking at the monsters under the bed and in the closet and in the mirror, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And, we heard so many stories of people that being, told, if you report this, you're going to be the one that's going to have the trouble, or like, so many cases. We talked once, I remember having this conversation about the athlete A and this guy, Larry Nassar, that he actually molested and raped over 500 ladies, girls, girls that probably never had sex before, because when they were in the Olympics were just babies. And the first claim was 20 years before something was done over this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because, this the little girl that made the complaint in 1997 was told that if she said something, she was going to be ashamed and eventually take off the Olympics, and the Olympics were their lives. So, and we have so many cases like that, and how unfair is justice with predators, and how unfair is with the victim, because you're raped, you're abused, and then when you go to the police, you are abused over and over and over and over again by the system, that you have to prove that in so many ways. Like in this case, he had like many claims, but until one mom 20 years later said, this is what happened, and contact somebody else, that's when everything started. So how much how many more pain and kids we have to pay to finally be heard, like you said, the Me Too movement. And then at the end, I don't know if much happened. Of course, that was a great thing that happened, because now we talk about that. We're bringing this conversation to the table. We are talking about, but there's so many. And I believe this is a big men's world still, and we're still fighting for our place. I'm not a feminist. I'm not a machist. I believe in that we are both equal. But I do understand that for us women to be at the level of men in all the institutions is going to take a while, and it hasn't happened yet. So what can we do about this now that I know you are so good at knowing things and having this great idea? So what would you suggest? So we have the law on one side, and we know that we can trust them to a certain point. Because if I have somebody in my family being raped, of course I would do everything in my power. But it's not that easy, all the things that maybe my baby has to go through, and being judged by others, because what were you doing at that time in this guy's home? Why were you drinking? Why did you drink that much? So all these kind of judgments over her. I would really have taken thoughts about what to do completely, to be honest. But where can we start changing this, shifting this to a better world?
It starts, and it sounds so simple, but it just starts with us. It just starts with you and me, and the people who are watching this video, and the people whose lives that we can immediately impact, because it's like a ripple effect. We have to make a choice today that anything that happens in our lives, if it feels like it's wrong, it probably is. I don't care what religion you are. I don't care what spirituality you are. We all have an internal gut feeling if something is wrong, right? And wrong, not like shit, I took a wrong turn. No, it's like in your gut, like this is not okay, right? Yeah. And so if you experience anything, see anything, hear of anything that in your gut you're like, that's just not right. It's like in the athlete A, so many people had seen how he treated the women and the little girls, and so many people felt in their guts this is not right, but they didn't say anything. So if you feel that gut feeling, say something, even if it doesn't account for anything or turn up to be anything. Speak up. If something makes you feel uncomfortable, like another human being, tell them, because sometimes people just don't know. Unfortunately, we live in a society where everybody's socially awkward. I'm socially awkward. So sometimes we don't know if we make other people uncomfortable. Sometimes we do. But it's important just to open your mouth. Tell people how you're feeling. Tell people how they make you feel. Tell people if you experience or see or hear of something that's not okay, because the only way that there's actually going to be change, and it's going to make everybody feel uncomfortable, because people have gotten away with judging and making people feel less than each other their whole lives.
Yeah.
Like you said, if you had a daughter who'd been through something and everybody starts judging, well, why were you there? Why were you drinking? All of that kind of stuff. Instead of constantly looking at reasons why this could be her fault, instead look at how did this happen, and can we find a solution? Can we figure out a way to make this so that it's not a hunting down somebody who's done something wrong, and more about healing everybody involved? Because I believe that the people who have hurt other people, you hurt people because you hurt people. I don't think that somebody's born a child molester or rapist. I think that something happens that makes them think that that behavior is okay. And I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying that that's how their brain communicates.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so we need to fix that. We need to make it so that they don't think that that behavior is okay. And we need to make it so that we're more communicative. Right. I actually, I was having this conversation with one of my friends here at our headquarters. And I think I might have mentioned it to you too. I was watching a Netflix TV show that's one of the like Adult Swim cartoonized TV shows, right? And it's Adult Swim, but it's actually like about a bunch of middle school children going through like puberty. And I was like, what the hell is this? But I don't have anything else on Netflix, so I'll just check out an episode, right? And I normally don't even watch the stupid humor stuff, but I was like, I needed a laugh. So, and as the show's going along, I keep like feeling a little bit uncomfortable, because I'm like, why? Like they are sexualizing the cartoonized children. I understand that it's an adult show. Yes. I understand that it's all adult context and that adults are watching it. Yes. But are we subconsciously as a society sexualizing the children through the cartoons?
Absolutely. Yes.
And I'm not trying to start a controversy or anything, but I think that we need to take a good hard look at what our influence is in every single day of our lives. And what are we, because this is becoming more and more of a thing, more and more documentaries and TV shows and things are coming out about people abusing children. And you and I were both abused as children. So why is this an epidemic?
Absolutely. I agree with you. And it's like changing what's normal, like normalizing something that is not, absolutely not. You don't play with kids. You don't do anything with kids. You stay away from kids. Just let their parents be close to them. And even kids needs to know, it's like you were saying before, sometimes they don't even know they're being abused. I was reading this case on, I think it was in TikTok, because TikTok now isn't, I was until 3 a.m. yesterday looking at cases. I was like, oh my God, this girl that her father would abuse her and rape her for years. But she didn't know that it was abuse because it was her father until she goes to school and somebody comes and talks about abuse. And then she says, oh, this is what's happening to me. This is wrong. So what are we teaching our kids? I was watching another Netflix series, because I think that Netflix is bringing us really great information. And one of the moms of these traffic girls was saying, check your kid's phone, check your daughter's phone. So there's no privacy on a 13, 12, 14 years old. So I have a 13 years old, and now after I saw that, I'm checking her phone. And because they are so young, they don't understand, they are naive. So it's like this feeling of the world is good. And it's so hard when you have to teach your kids that not everybody's good. And many people on the street can harm them, right?
Yeah, and the worst
Yeah,
part about it is that you're the adult. We shouldn't have to make sure the kids are safe. You you shouldn't have to you shouldn't have to want to hurt the children so that they have to be protected from you. We shouldn't have to live in a world where people have to be protected from each other. We should live in a
absolutely.
world where we genuinely want the best possible for the person next to us. And in a world where we focus on loving and caring about each other, then we don't want to abuse and hurt each other, you know?
Right. But it happens. And I
Yeah.
know that pedophiles and abusers are everywhere. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have kids, just have that conversation. We talk about this, Casey. Just have this conversation at home. Don't think there are some subjects that we don't talk about because it's taboo. There's no subjects that you don't talk about. You talk about everything because this is what's happening everywhere, at schools, at church,
Yeah.
at gymnastics. One of the biggest institutions in United States, the gymnastics, the Olympics. And look at what happened. And nobody say anything. This is the worst part, that nobody says anything. So if you see something, say something. Just don't remain like a witness, because if you're a silent witness, you're part of the problem. There's no neutral way here. You can be, in the middle. There's no way of being neutral. If you see something, say something. If you're with a group of men and they start, saying things that you feel uncomfortable with, just don't be part of the group and do exactly what the others do. Because, you'll go to jail if you go to jail, because, as we talk, predators don't go to jail. Maybe they serve like 6 months or, something like that. And this guy is incredible. This guy, Larry Nassar, once they kick him out of the Olympics, he started running for something at school in his
School district,
neighborhood,
yep.
school district. And actually 2,000 people voted for him. And he was, and then he actually kept raping those kids in her new home, in his new home. And everything would have been, it would not happen if this case is 1997, 23 years before, would have said something. And Stepan say, hey, we have something weird going on here. Let's investigate. Nobody said anything because, unfortunately, this is money. This is power. We're talking about the big guys, the big boys that play all together. And I am going to be controversial about that right now, because this is the truth. I believe that most entities, the biggest entities in the world, are corrupted somehow, somehow. And I'm not going to say names because that's not I hope we have a good justice system, but there's so many corrupted people in all these structures. So, and there's a quote from athlete A that says, we were going to sacrifice our young to win. It's disgusting. Abused and mistreated for years. Tough coaching and abuse, sexual abuse for years, based on fear, intimidation, and silence. I wasn't proud to be an Olympian, one of the girls said, because once she get her beautiful medal, she knew what happened to her. And it's so crazy because Maggie Nichols, when she was 3 years old, she was crawling over the furniture, that's what her mom says, and said, my parents put me in a safer environment. And the safer environment, she was raped in. And how many cases like this we see all the time. So we need to change this. We need to change. We need you, Casey. We need you, my friend. We need you to say something. We need you to start talking about this. We need you to talk to your kids, not just the girls, but the boys.
Yeah,
because
it happens to boys too.
Exactly. And the boys, if they become predators, you can change that before. You got to take care of your kids too. Where do they go? Who are they hanging on with? Even if you have, I don't know, you get divorced and you have a new boyfriend. I mean, just be careful. Just be aware. You don't have to be always being suspicious of everything on everyone.
Right. You don't have to live your life terrified.
Exactly. But know what's going on. Talk about this. Trust your kids when they come and say something like, I've been bullied at school. Just listen to that, because abuse happens in so many ways, and you can change that. You can protect your kids. That's what you're here for, to protect them. That's it. That's all you have to do. Protect them, of course, and give them love. But if you don't give them love, at least protect them. That's your duty. So, so let me ask you. Wow, we've been through so much today. So the last couple of questions. Where do you see yourself in 10 years from now?
I have a new project that I'm working on, and I'm not going to really dive into it too much. But there are some things that I would like to see in the world, and that's, making it greener, making it more tech savvy, and so I'm actually going to be venturing into those realms here soon, within the next few years. So in 10 years, I see myself running a foundation. I see myself running like a place for people to go that can get the kind of healing that they so desperately are looking for, that the world isn't giving enough women, and children and men too. So running a foundation that helps people to find the kind of healing that they're looking for, as well as a nonprofit that's globally going around teaching sex education, teaching healing, teaching people how to just be the best versions of themselves, the best ways that they want to be.
Absolutely.
So that's really my vision, is to really go out there and make a positive impact on the world, and teach people just how to love each other more.
Absolutely. And what it was for you, the healing process? What happened after you were able to heal?
So for me, the biggest hurdle that I had to get over in the healing process. So when it comes to trauma, right? Everybody can go two different directions. Like, no matter what you go through, you can go off in any different direction and handle that trauma, right? Find a coping mechanism. Well, mine was to just completely shut down. And as you mentioned in my bio, I dealt with an addiction to self-mutilating. And so I dealt with that a lot, most of my childhood and young adult life. So for me, it was being sick of being sick and tired. And it was actually, like I said before, leaning on beliefs of others, but being able to realize that this is just not who I want to be for the rest of my life.
So let me ask you, what would be your words to somebody that's in the situation you were before right now? If she's watching this or he's watching this, what would you tell her?
Honestly, I had to take responsibility of the situation. And that may seem a little bit backwards, but I had to stop blaming how I felt about everything on what I had been through. I hated myself because of what had happened to me as a child. And so every little thing that went wrong in my life was because of somebody else. And so I was in this constant situation where I was blaming and self-loathing and finding people to hate and hating myself, and just so much anger. And so it was just taking responsibility of where I was at. We are once you become an adult, well, you are who you are today because of the decisions that you've made over the past 5 years and plus, right? And so if you're broken, unhappy, in a horrible relationship, something, right? Sometimes you just gotta own it. Be like, yep, I'm the reason that I'm here. So if I'm the reason I'm here, that gives you the power to be able to say what's next. It gives you it takes the power away from the circumstance and puts it in your hands so that you're actually able to go out there and do something about it and take action. But it ultimately comes down to a choice. Do you want to be a victim or do you want to be a victor? Because every human being has been hurt, but it's
Absolutely.
what you do with that hurt that matters.
Absolutely. Do you want to be a victim or do you want to be a victor? I love that because, you know, like Casey says, ultimately it's you taking ownership of what happened, because now you can take ownership of your life and your healing and your process. And something that I want to invite you to is don't judge yourself. Just you didn't know what you didn't know, which I know is one of your favorite phrases, like you say in the book. You didn't know. Now you know. It's your time to embrace who you are and to take that step into your power, because you are powerful. You were born powerful, and that's inside of you. That's why probably you're listening to this right now, because you know this is your moment. So Casey, where can they find you if they want to know more about you, if they want to get your beautiful and amazing book? Where can they find you?
You can find me on all social media platforms, Casey Nicole Fox, CASEYNICOLEFOX, and as well as my website, CaseyNicoleFox.com, Facebook, Instagram, Casey Nicole Fox. It's all the same. So you can find me on any of that. You can also find my book on Amazon by just looking up my name, Casey Nicole Fox, called I Quit. And so, yeah, and just like Sylvia said, if you're listening to this today, it's because you want to change. You're fired up about something and you've got a passion in your heart and a stirring in your gut. And so go out there and actually use that and make a change in people's lives and choose if you want to be a victim or a victor. And then everybody that you meet that maybe they're a victim, we can help everybody let go of the victimhood and become victors of our lives instead of circumstances.
Wow, that's so powerful. Absolutely. The power is inside of you. And to help you a little bit more on this, I'm going to offer you to download my free book. It's called 131 Keys to Love, where you can find a lot of things that can help you heal, can help you empower yourself. And it's kind of the book for love. So you learn almost everything you need to know about love. And the link is going to be on the comments with the links for Casey to find her. And also probably we will include some good resources for you for, trafficking and for sexual abuse, and some great websites where you can check and see if you're in a healthy relationship or not. There's so much great information out there. So don't be a victim, be a victor of your life. And remember that you, my friend, were born to love deeply and be absolutely deeply loved and adored. Thank you very much, Casey, and we'll see each other soon with our next episode. Thank you for being here.